Whoops, that's the wrong darn button. Hey everyone, and mine didn't work. There we go, now it is. Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me, as you've already seen, Charlie Cook, riding shotgun with Charlie. I say as you've already seen. For those of you who are on podcast, you don't know what the heck I'm talking about. I pushed a few buttons in the wrong order when I went and took us live. But, Charlie, been a busy day for both you and me today, man. And why does your audio not come through all of a sudden? 1 second, bud.
Oh,
there we go.
Hanging tight. All right. I was wondering, when you put my image up, I was wondering if you were going to read through gun laws for 7 minutes again.
You know, I was just thinking about that because let me do my normal start here. If you're watching us on the Facebook or YouTube channels for Polite Society Podcast, go ahead and comment on those live videos. We'll get your comments up, get them on the air. If you're watching us anywhere else, go to YouTube. Tweet with the hashtag #TheBullet. We'll get those and we'll get them on the air as well as I finish getting everything hooked up social media-wise. But what Charlie's talking about today, or what he talked about just now, when New York first was going to be putting up the Concealed Carry Improvement Act, I read the entire list of places you were not allowed to carry on the air from the very start to the very bottom. I believe it was A to T, but there were subsections in each of them. And while Charlie and I were talking about it, and I was reading it, I was looking at right over here. I was looking at my screen that shows me what that bill was. Meanwhile, I'd forgotten to push the button, and Charlie was still sitting there doing this, doing that at the camera because he was the only one on the screen. For 7 minutes, it took me to get through that whole list of places you could not carry in New York. And so, yeah, I'm not going to do that to you again. But today, we do have on our lead story, let me get the comments up here so I can, there we go. And we're getting check-ins already from social media, especially over there on YouTube. CloverTac checking in. He says, right. I gotta get this up. He says, I'm just here for Charlie, that's all.
Right.
So,
I got to tell you, CloverTac's here. I'm going to put a shameless plug in early. Next Tuesday's episode is an episode I filmed with CloverTac down in Dallas at Gun Rights Policy Conference last year. So I'm glad to finally get that out and have Clover on as a real show, because in 2019 he decided to hop in front of the cameras one time, and I said, forget that, hop in the car. You're going to be on the show right now.
There you go. There you go. Well, let's get into this first story, and I'm not going to do it to you again. I'm not even pushing buttons. The buttons are right over there. I'm going to keep my hands over here. So, on Tuesday, State Senator Roland Gutierrez proposed more legislation aimed at reducing gun deaths. Now, this is in Texas. I'm just going to go ahead and read through the list of bills he put forward. We talked about this a little bit on the air yesterday. One of them is he wants to ban killer bullets. What are those? Senate Bill 1737 would make expanding and fragmenting bullets illegal. 1736 would require that gun show vendors and promoters conduct background checks before completing the sale of any gun, with exceptions for firearm sales to peace officers and those who are licensed to carry. Gun show owners would also be required to maintain sales records, and promoters would be required to provide notice of the gun show to local law enforcement a month in advance. Newsflash, there's already federal rules that govern that and actually go beyond that. Senate Bill 1740 would require all guns and ammunitions in vehicles to be stored in a locked container, hidden from plain sight, and would make storing unsecured guns or ammunition in an unattended car or boat a misdemeanor. It would require sign postings for firearms dealers. In other words, a firearms dealer would have to say, don't park your boat here and leave a gun in the glove compartment unlocked. Anyway, 1738 would require any law enforcement officer in a child-involved shooting to be immediately placed under administrative leave / suspension. It would also trigger an automatic independent law enforcement investigation and would make it so the officer may be terminated, suspended, or disciplined if force was used was unjustified or the officer failed to intervene to prevent the child's death. In other words, 17-year-old gangbangers, if this goes through, man, you're golden. You get whatever you want. Finally, Senate Bill 1739 would make it so that anyone convicted of murdering students or employees at schools would face life without parole. Murder's already illegal, and I'm guessing in situations this guy's going for, they're going to be facing the death penalty in Texas and not life without parole.
Yeah, that one right there seems to be lightening things up. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're like, I mean, really, if you went from, possibly getting the death sentence to life without parole, okay, that seems to be an easier. I'm going to say easier sentence because there wouldn't be any. What's the word I'm looking for? There wouldn't be any justice served for somebody that would usually get a death sentence.
Here's my thought, Charlie. Just going to bounce this off you here real quick. This guy is in the district that Uvalde, Texas is in. He's capitalizing right now on the Uvalde shooting from last year. I'm wondering if he hasn't jumped the shark and might be on his way out simply because sooner or later, people in Texas are going to figure out this is not cool, this is not what we want. And the stuff like this is not exactly something you can walk back from. He can't do a Beto and say I was before it, before I was against it, before I was for it.
Right. To the Beto O'Rourke, or I call it the John Kerry. Some of this stuff really is it doesn't make any sense. So expanding or fragmenting bullets illegal. Okay, so these are hollow point rounds. These are safer for personal protection because they're not supposed to overpenetrate. They're going to go into your bad guy. They're going to slow down. They're going to leave a big hole. And so he's looking for everyone to have hollow point rounds, which could possibly penetrate someone that you're shooting, a bad guy that you're shooting in self-defense, right?
Yeah, he wants the full metal jacket, or maybe even total metal jacket. But yeah, he wants the overpenetration. He wants it so you don't just go through one person. You go through one person in the refrigerator and the three behind the refrigerator that are hiding.
Wonderful. Let's talk about the next one here. The gun show vendors and promoters conduct background checks before any gun sale. If you're, I bought a couple guns at gun shows. If you're a gun store, you have to go through. You have to fill it. Doesn't matter what kind of sale it is. Doesn't matter where it is. You've got to fill out the 4473. You've got to do a background check. So he's going to say that have to fill out the 4473 and do a background check, which you already have to do. They're going to make police officers exempt, and people who have a license to carry are going to be exempt. So you want to go do background checks on people, and if somebody buys a gun from a gun store at a gun show, they're going to have to do a background check already. Maybe Clover can chime in on this. I don't know if you have a carry permit in Texas, if you're exempt from doing the background check because you've already had a background check done on you. I'm not sure, but it kind of sounds like that might be what the case is. The gun show owners or the gun store owners have to require sales records. So now the gun show owner means that somebody that has some business that books the gun show is now going to be able to retain records of firearms purchases. That's bad.
Yeah, and he did chime in. People who have an LTC in Texas are already exempt. I want to get one more comment up here. He did this a couple minutes ago, but his stuff is dead in the water, make people aware, but would not advise spending a lot of time on it. Time better spent elsewhere, that is. So there's some tough fights out there. Well, we've got other stuff we're going to get to. Honestly, I like making fun of people that don't know what they're doing, trying to legislate laws for those of us who do know what we're doing.
Right. I mean, he wants things that we already have.
Yes.
You know? We already have background checks on purchases, at gun shows, unless it's a private transaction, and private sales. You in some states you don't have to do background checks for.
Yeah, and South Dakota is the same as Texas in that if you have an enhanced permit, which I do, you do not have to wait for you still have to fill out the 4473, but they can take however long they take to do it, to send it in. You can walk out before they ever start doing the 4473 with your firearm. Let's see here. And 500 Magnum. And this Michigan is not in our show notes, but I want to get this comment in. Michigan really needs help right now, please. 500 Magnum, I don't disagree with you at all. Michigan's in a tough spot. There's very little I can see that can be done to stop some really bad bills to get enacted. They're going to get hammered down once they do, but my understanding is I promise I will look this up, and when Mike Piwowarski and I are on tomorrow, I'll do a deeper dive like we're doing a deeper dive into this today. I think Michigan is more than 50% both House and Senate Democrat. And I don't know that there's a whole lot that what's going through in Michigan looks like a steamroll to me. We're still going to fight it after it gets enacted. You can't file a lawsuit until there's actually a law to fight, but we have not given up on Michigan or any other. So let's see here. And let me get this. We've got a comment from, I don't know who this is. Oh, Roderick Converse. The gun shows in Indiana, the private sellers have asked to see permits from buyers. Charlie, if first of all, that would require me to do two things. One of them is extremely unlikely. That's selling one of my guns. But if I were to sell one of my guns, I would then go for number two. If you're going to buy a firearm from me, I'm going to see that concealed carry permit, because that's a guaranteed, this is a card carrying good guy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I get that, in some states you don't have to do background checks, but I myself wouldn't sell a gun to somebody that's not legal to possess one. And if every state except Vermont has a carry permit, so I would do exactly the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one that I'm glad I got my blood pressure medications refilled and taken for. This one out of the New Jersey. And this is off of NewJerseyMonitor.com. I'm going to read a little bit of this, but I'm going to abandon it early. New Jersey officials, I don't know where that came from. I've never been there, and I got into a Joyzy. New Jersey officials plan to appeal a federal judge's orders blocking parts of the state's new gun law. Attorney General Matt Platkin told federal judge Renee Marie Bum he will appeal her two temporary restraining orders allowing guns in places legislators ban them, including bars, parks, beaches, and libraries, even though such orders aren't ordinarily appealable. I'm going to go on, and later in the article he says, well, I won't do it if she actually rules in our favor. Well, duh. But look, they've already been, Bum has already said, look, this goes against Bruin. It's not going to fly. I'm putting these temporary restraining orders in now because you are going to hurt people. And New Jersey says, yeah, we're just going to keep hammering at this, and we're going to hammer all the way until we know the Supreme Court's going to go against us.
It's amazing that New Jersey wants to fight everything. It's against Bruin. We still want it our way. We still want to ban guns in bars and parks, parks, beaches, and libraries. This. It's exhausting, man. And the quote from Scott Bach is great down here. They're spending taxpayer money defending something they're going to lose.
Yep. So congratulations if you're catching us in New Jersey. That now you're going to be spending. They're going to be spending your money to oppress you in a losing effort. So, yeah,
it's insane.
It absolutely is. Next one I want to get into here I got this one off of newschannel5.com. This is a Nashville story. Gun safety advocates will meet with lawmakers to discuss the future of gun safety in the state on Wednesday. Moms demand action and students demand action. Volunteers, they could get together and just have action among themselves. Anyway, moms demand action and students demand action. Volunteers are leading the efforts. They'll be advocating against lowering the permitless carry age from 21 to 18. The group said the drop in age could be dangerous and would only lead to more consequences. This is something, it sounds like a drumbeat to me because we hit it all the time. If you're 18, you can fight and die for your country. You can get a sex change operation, or you can even screw your life up by marrying the wrong person. You would think they'd be allowed to defend themselves.
Yeah, I mean, how much more things? You can get a credit card. You can you can sign legal documents. Obviously, you can sign up for college loans at 18 years old, hundreds of thousands of dollars in college loans, but you can't carry a handgun because of the moms and the students that are demanding some action. This is completely ridiculous.
Yeah, it absolutely is. The end of the story, they'll also be advocating for new safety measures like requiring guns to be secured properly in cars. According to Metro Police, so far this year, 174 out of the 224 guns stolen have been stolen out of cars. I do not like safe storage laws. I do not like what we talked about earlier in Texas and what they're proposing in Tennessee. It makes being a victim being a double victim, because if you're a victim of a theft, you're going to be a victim of the anti-gunners again when you get fined in state court or possibly even jail time. I don't like that. I do think you have a responsibility, if you have a firearm, to keep it secured so nobody who isn't supposed to have it should be able to get it. I think it's only smart, if you're going to leave your firearm in a car, to have it in a locked container. But I don't think it should be a law.
Yeah, this is Spider-Man stuff. Like, with great power comes great responsibility. I don't know anyone, and I can't imagine anyone that would leave a gun of any type on the seat of their vehicle so people can see it. You're asking people to break into your car and steal your gun. If people can see your gun stuff, your guns, your ammo, your range bag, if they can see this, you're asking for trouble. Not far off topic here, I saw something in one of the community Facebook pages from one of my local area here in the central part of Massachusetts, where somebody in one of the littler rinky-dink towns that I'm next to my rinky-dink town, somebody put on their community page, they're like, listen, I just want to remind everybody, lock your car doors at night and don't leave the keys in it. I'm like, you have to tell people to not to lock their cars and not leave their keys in the car? Are these people, what do they not get? What do they not get?
Yes, and yes, Mike White, even a high point, yes.
Even a high point should be locked and secured, absolutely.
Yes. I want to get this one in from MC. Russia and China demand action. Yeah, that we'd end up getting a Vladimir Singh or something like that. That just doesn't sound right. But anyway,
yeah, I mean, it's the responsible thing to do to keep your guns locked and secured so people don't have access to them, and we don't need the government to make laws about this.
Yes, we absolutely do. It's just, if you've got, this should almost be common sense. I mean, don't leave your firearm in your car, and especially if you're in a neighborhood where there's a high crime. The only thing I could think of is if you have to go to a post office in a high crime area, and you've got to go to that post office, and you got to go inside the building. But yeah, lock it up in a car safe. I can't think of another reason to leave a firearm in a car ever. Word on the hip. It's more effective there.
Bingo.
All right. want to get one more comment in here. Mike 500 Magnum wants to know, when can we get these red flag laws thrown in the trash where they belong? Hang on, 500 Magnum. We've got SAF. I'm speaking of has lawsuits against red flag laws. I know in Indiana, I'm pretty sure in other states as well. I need to get Adam Kraut on here in the near future again, just to talk about what we've got going and where. But I do know we've got red flag lawsuits up in multiple jurisdictions. We got lawsuits against them up. So I want to go.
It kind of boggles my mind that people think the red flag stuff is actually going to work, just like the regular gun laws are going to work.
Yeah.
Like, do they really think that? We don't want, like back to the Texas thing. Do they really think that people who have carry permits, who have already passed a background check, need to pass another background check, or do they think criminals go to gun stores, gun shows to buy guns from gun stores that do background checks need another background check? Do they think they're actually going to do that?
Well, and that leads me to another one where we're getting all kinds of regulation and our actually I'm gonna skip over the Colorado story. We'll go to the story next that I'm gonna talk about here for just a second, but we're getting all kinds of stories about ghost guns this, ghost guns that, ghost guns the other thing. Well, what they're not reporting in the mainstream media is most of the ghost guns recovered have their serial numbers scratched off. They're a stolen gun that, or possibly a straw-bought gun that when the person got it, they thought, I'm going to outsmart the cops. I'm going to sand off this serial number. And when the police get it, they go to the media and say, we got a ghost gun off. Well, not so much. But anyway, this one, next one I got from Vice.com, not exactly a pro-gun source, but less than a year after President Joe Biden unveiled rules cracking down on the untraceable firearms known as ghost guns, groups once in the crosshairs are celebrating as the new regulations crumble under legal challenges. On March 2nd, a federal judge in Dallas granted a preliminary injunction to Defense Distributed, a Texas-based company that joined a lawsuit challenging actions on unfurnished gun parts known as frames and receivers, which combine with other products to enable home assembly of guns with no serial number or paper trail for authorities to track the chain of ownership. While the final outcome is pending, the injunction will allow Defense Distributed to resume selling ghost gun components otherwise banned under federal regulations that took effect last August. The decision from the court in the Northern District of Texas is limited in scope, but other ghost gun parts retailers are seeking to join with Defense Distributed, and opponents warn it could soon open the floodgates. This guy from Giffords says, if all the parties are allowed to join, we'll basically be back to where we were before the rules took effect. This is what the worst case scenario could look like. That's a best case scenario, actually, for the entirety of the history of our nation. We've been able to make our own firearms. You can't sell them, but you can make them. And this is coming back, and it's good news.
I like this here. If all the entities are allowed to join, we'll basically be back where we were before the rule took effect. How were things before the rule took effect? Does he want to make America great again? Is that what he's trying to say? So he thinks that we have more problems now, but if we go back, then we're not going to have the problems of criminals and rising crime and all the other ridiculousness.
Yeah. I want to get this one up here. Gun websites. One of these laws will be enough, Charlie. Just one more. Then we'll stop the violence.
Right. It's the old line, how many guns do you need? Just one more. How many gun laws do you need? Just one more. It's the exact same answer because it's not enough. It's not enough that these people don't realize that all of these laws are going to be ignored by people who want to commit crime, people who want to murder, people who want to take your stuff and harm you and your family.
You're absolutely right. And just one more. By the way, I was out at a local sporting goods store, and this is a sporting goods store. And I'm going to give them a free plug. I was out at the Shield store here recently, and I am this close. They've got a absolutely gorgeous, mechanically stocked but Cerakoted Gen 4 Glock Model 17 full-size Glock that, oh my God, I would love to get my hands on. I've got full-size Glocks that are in 40 caliber. All the stuff I've been buying recently is in 9. My stockpile of ammunition that I'm not going to give the amount of because somebody would faint over and die. They would be a member of a demanding action group, but I've got a huge stockpile of 9. My stockpile of 40 is not so great. So I'm seriously considering adding to the Lathrop stockpile of those evil firearms. Thank goodness I can do more than once a month here. But
that's awesome. I'm going to get another job if I need. If I have to get one gun a month, I have to get another job.
Yes, yes. Let's see here. I think we're. Let me get this.
Can we end real? No, go ahead.
All right. New York declared red flag laws unconstitutional. Really gives me hope. If we stick to our guns, we can abolish it nationally. I do believe that that's going to happen. I think it's going to happen because most of these can be, and the one they pushed for in South Dakota that I went and testified against are, you don't have to be there when they have this court hearing where they take your gun rights away. I think that's where we're going to get these things initially struck down, other than the fact that they're just idiocy and don't do a thing to take care of what they say they're going to take care of. So
yeah, it's complete ridiculousness. I was kind of hoping we'd go out on this sort of good news from Kansas, right?
Yes.
Do we have time?
We do, and we can go a few minutes over. This is out of Topeka. I got this off ksnt.com. Kansas lawmakers are moving forward with legislation to urge school districts to adopt a gun safety training program in schools. The Kansas House is set to debate House Bill 2304 Wednesday, which would require the state board to set up curriculum guidelines for a standardization firearm safety training education program. For kindergarten and grades 1 through 5, the program will be based off the National Rifle Association's the Eagle program. Companion bill, Senate Bill 116, passed 30-8 in the Senate last month. Some Democrats voted in favor of the plan, but others protested the bill during debates. I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. Good news. And Charlie, I believe I remember, I think, talking with you about Kansas and this. It could have been somebody else, but I remember talking about this on the bullet with somebody about this. Good news. This is really common sense gun law right here.
It is, and what I think is kind of fun, and this is the ridiculousness that is me, the lady that's pushing this, her name is Senator Sandy Holster, which is close to holster.
Yes.
And I would do a Freudian slip every time I talk to this lady. But she's pushing, she talked about SCI being in there, and she's wondering about the long-term success of hunting. It says the recruitment of hunters is crucial to the long-term success. It's to the long-term success of the environment that we have hunters that keep animals in check, which is usually what the liberals want. They want to take care of the earth. So we take care of the earth by maintaining the animal population.
Yes. And I want to mention, speaking of Kansas, on Saturday at 12 noon Central Time, on the Bullet, we're going to be having Rebecca Schmoy on. Rebecca is a member of the Kansas State House of Representatives. She's also the lady behind 1 Million Moms Against Gun Control, and she'll be here on Saturday, so make sure you tune in to tune in to
check it out.
Check that out. I want to get one last comment in here before I ask Charlie to plug what he does. Michael says, I hear reciprocity is going to the courts. I did not make it to our list of stories for today. Again, it will tomorrow, but yes, there's a lawsuit in New York, specifically New York City, challenging that nobody is allowed reciprocity in New York City. Yeah, I don't know how far that's going to go, what's going to happen with that. Honestly, I hope something good happens with it. I know it is not. Last time I talked to Adam Kraut, it's not. There's a lot of things SAF is working on that's not high on SAF's priority list right now. So, Charlie, it is that time. We're just past 30 minutes. Tell us about Riding Shotgun with Charlie and anything else you want to plug, bud.
I have a show coming out with CloverTac this coming Tuesday. Riding Shotgun with Charlie. You can find us on YouTube and Facebook. I'm actually trying to be a little more active on the Instagram as well. And you can download the show and listen to it as a podcast too. So please check it out, like and subscribe, and all that stuff that people ask you to do.
Very cool. I gotta get this one in. How many of y'all carry a 1911 anymore? Gotta love the classics. 500 Magnum. This reminds me of a good friend, Yehuda Reamer's meme that he put up on social media early this week. A young lady and a young man, and she's saying to the young man, I'm sorry, I'm into older guys. He says, well, as a matter of fact, I carry a 1911, so.
That's awesome.
Alrighty, on my end, that's going to do it for us today. I want to say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening, podcast subscribers. And for those of you that did tune in live, thanks for commenting. We're going to set it aside for today. Do come join me 5 p.m. Central Time tomorrow for another edition of The Bullet. Until then, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.